Today we are talking about the frequently asked questions for those PCSing to Offutt Air Force Base. I work with a lot of folks who are PCSing to Offutt and are looking at Bellevue, Papillion, Gretna, and we are going to get into all of the frequently asked questions that I hear over and over and over. So my name is Morgan Putnam and I am a local real estate expert. Let's get into it. The number one question I hear is, can I live in Gretna or Papillion and still easily get to base? And I always follow it up with, how comfortable are you with a commute? There is different parts in Papillion that are really pretty close to Offutt, where it might be more like 10, maybe 12 minutes. And then there are other parts in Papillion where it's definitely going to be more like close to that 20-minute mark, especially if you have to commute during the classic rush hour times. There is a surprising amount of traffic. People think that moving to Omaha, you're going to have no traffic, and there definitely is some traffic, especially during the traditional rush hour times, and then as well as school pickup. However, there are a ton of folks who work at Offutt Air Force Base and live in Papillion. Bellevue is the most obvious choice, and it is very close. Papillion is going to give you just a little bit of separation. And then next up, Gretna. You're going to be looking closer to that like 20-minute mark as like a starting point, and then maybe up to 30 minutes, especially during rush hour if you're wanting to commute into base. Both Gretna and Papillion are going to offer a very suburban feel. Gretna is more like a fast-growing suburb that has a lot of development happening everywhere. You're really going to have a hard time finding an older home in Gretna. There are a few, don't get me wrong, but it is not common. Where in Papillion, they have a little bit more history of construction, and so you'll be able to get a house that's maybe built in like the 50s or 60s, and then up to new construction. Both of these places are doing a lot of new construction. I would say Gretna is just blowing up a little bit more right now with new like mixed use developments, meaning like big shopping centers and that sort of thing, just because it's less established than Papillion, because Papillion already has a lot of that stuff. Papillion is just more central in all senses. It's more central to Offutt, and it's also just more central to all of Omaha. It's going to be quicker to get to Eppley Airfield than Gretna is going to be, but both of them are going to offer a similar feel. Second up, for frequently asked questions I hear, what are some of the best neighborhoods next to Offutt Air Force Base? In Bellevue, there are older neighborhoods as well as newer neighborhoods. So some of the newer neighborhoods might be Triggeron or Twin Springs, and then some of the older neighborhoods might be like Bellevue Boulevard area, close to Fontenelle Forest. And so you'll be able to find homes that really run the whole gamut in Bellevue, because some of these were being built in like the 1920s and 30s, and then all the way up to new construction is still happening today. I would say that there's just a little bit less space in Bellevue than there is in Papillion and Gretna, and so you have more options in Papillion and Gretna if you are wanting new construction. In Papillion, there is Shadow Ridge, Eagle Ridge, Liberty, and Settlers Creek. Those are very popular neighborhoods for folks who work at Offutt Air Force Base. If you're looking for a newer home in Papillion, look at Ashbury Farms, or in Gretna, there's Harvest Hills. A lot of these neighborhoods, especially the new construction, are being built really close to elementary schools and then also different little community parks. And so there's usually quite a few amenities for families who are looking at these newer developments. And again, really the best place for you depends on your specific situation, what your goals are for your home. If you want a person who works at Offutt to be able to come home during lunch, then it's really, you're going to want to be looking more so at Bellevue. But if you're moving from a place that had really long commute times anyway, then maybe something like Papillion or Gretna will not phase you at all. The third most frequently asked question I hear is, how much does it cost to buy a home in these areas? In Papillion, over the last 12 months, the average sold price for a house was $444,000, and the most expensive home that sold was $1.29 million, and the cheapest was $145,000, and that was like a house that needed a lot of work. It is absolutely possible to find homes in the high 200s in Papillion. They need a little bit of work, but and then you can obviously find things up to very expensive homes. In Gretna, the average sold price for the last 12 months was $460,000, so just a little bit above Papillion. And then the most expensive home that sold was $2.2 million, and then the most affordable home that sold was $220,000. In Bellevue, the average sold price for the last 12 months was $304,000. The most expensive home was just slightly over $1 million, and the cheapest home was $35,000, and that was a mobile home. Bellevue is the most affordable option as far as owning a home. If you want that super close proximity to Offutt Air Force Base, or if you want just a little bit more space, then you have a lot of different options. The fourth most common question I ask is, what is the weather like in Nebraska? In Nebraska, we have all four seasons in abundance. Particularly winter and summer are quite long, where the spring and fall, which are usually very pleasant, are the shorter of the seasons. We have anywhere from a 0-degree day with maybe a -20 wind chill up to easily a 100-degree day in the summer. And July and August and the first part of September will pretty consistently be pretty high, like in the low 90s, upper 80s. And then in the winter, it's very normal, end of December, January, beginning of February, to have stretches in that like low 20s to some weeks that are a little bit lower than that consistently. In the summer and in the spring, we also have thunderstorms that can turn into tornadoes. The fifth most common question I hear is, what are the entertainment and shopping options in Papillion and Gretna? I think a lot of people assume that Bellevue is really close to Omaha, and it is. It's really easy to get into Omaha, so then you have access to everything. Papillion has Shadow Lake Town Center that has a Target and a lot of different shops. There is every shop that you could want really in Papillion. It has Target, Walmart, Costco, Sam's Club, all of the things that a lot of people come to rely on to sustain their lives. Obviously, lots of grocery stores. And then Gretna has Nebraska Crossing, which is an outlet mall that has been around for probably close to about 10 years now, and it's just off Interstate 80. And there is a lot of development happening around the outlet mall, which is exciting for Gretna. There's going to be different like mixed use office buildings, apartments. Omaha Metro has great food and has great restaurants and great food scene, but a lot of those restaurants are in Omaha, so you're going to have to come into Omaha from the more suburban places to be able to take advantage of those like more foodie food experiences. But that's not to say that there's not a lot of different restaurants in these places, because there are some local and then a lot of like the chain, but maybe more so like the foodie food experience you're going to have to come into Omaha for. Both of these communities are really great for families, and so there's just a lot of parks like splash pads, pools, and all of those sorts of things for families. There's a lot of different golf courses, and the Omaha Metro has so many different sports leagues, so if that's something that's important for your kiddos, there are a lot of options in Papillion and Gretna and Bellevue and Omaha, so you just know that those sorts of needs as far as different athletic opportunities for your kids will absolutely be taken care of here. Gretna is also home to Vala's Pumpkin Patch, which is basically like an amusement park in the fall for all things fall, and it is so fun. Families absolutely love it. You can get a season pass, and so you can go as much as you want. And so there are just different things like that throughout the Omaha Metro to make living here super fun during almost all seasons. If you have any questions about these frequently asked questions for those PCSing to Offutt Air Force Base, please reach out. I'm happy to help. My name is Morgan Putnam. I am a local real estate expert, and my phone number is 402-720-9886.